Hey everybody, it's me, Jay. Welcome back to my channel where we discuss the popular culture of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So, I'm attempting another live stream today. Um, it's always off the cuff with these things, and I really got to get a lot better at announcing my live streams because I know there's probably not going to be many people on this live stream. Again, this is a new thing for me. I'm really trying to get into it. I'm really trying to understand how this works. Today, I wanted to discuss a few things which were on my mind. Mostly just things which I've been thinking about lately, and a couple things which have happened over the course of the last couple of weeks. Some interesting news, some upcoming events, and it's just been a whirlwind of things that have been happening this year. I was attending, as I discussed in my last video, I was at Cosplay Matsuri, which was a cosplay festival at the Ontario Science Center, and that was a blast. Let me bring up the Cosplay Matsuri. Let me bring up the website again, just so you can remember what I'm talking about. So, so yeah, this was Cosplay Matsuri, and as I was saying, they had a special guests, the twin cosplay, which were sponsored by Unplugged Expo, and they had a lot of different local cosplayers like Mel Colley, Bamsey Cosplay, Ali Maho. Erika Sabo couldn't make it. She had other obligations. Bex Cosplay was there. Purblind was there. Imai Cosplay couldn't make it as well. She was also at another event or another function or something like that. Elemental Photography, ConMon Photography, Alex Rose Photography, and of course Jen Marvel, who is a VFX artist. Let's just take a quick look at. Let's take a quick look at something here. So if we, just to show you guys what, if you go to YouTube and you type in Cosplay Matsuri, press enter. And yeah, there was. I'm just gonna borrow somebody's video here. Um, let's just take this one here. This one was by Catherine Ed, and this YouTuber was able to capture a few of the awesome cosplays that happened that day. I was just taking a look at this video. I'm going to link it in the description below when I repost this. I'm just borrowing this for now. Thank you, Catherine Ed, for posting this video. It really is awesome. Yeah, as you can see, there were a lot of performances. There was Hey, that was me. There was yes, a maid cafe, which was really awesome. A lot of performances by idol groups, which was really awesome. There was even a live band there. I'm not sure anybody really knew that was actually happening. Um, lots of things, workshops, and of course, awesome cosplay. I mean, Overwatch was there all over the place. We got some Halo Reach here. Um, this is actually more like a reaction video. Yeah, the Death Note. Lots of great stuff. Different animes. Pokemon, obviously. Uh, wow. I'm pretty sure that was a video game. I think that's Final Fantasy. There's SpongeBob. This is a great video by Catherine Ed. I'm probably pronouncing that name wrong. But yeah, it was a great time overall. Lovely event at the Ontario Science Center. It was one day, uh, and it rained, and that was really surprising. But I think everyone really enjoyed themselves. It was one of those. It was one of those things where you really could just enjoy yourself for the day, not take too much pressure. That was a VR demonstration. We just missed that, and of course another idol group which was performing. I believe this one was One Two Shine. They had groupies. One Two Shine had groupies there. It's really amazing how far a lot of these groups have come. There they are. They're the groupies. Holy cow! Just great stuff. Um, that was fun. So a brand new event in Toronto. Really congratulate them for all the work that they've been doing. Great stuff that happened over the weekend. Really enjoyed it. The Science Center is a really great venue. I don't know if anybody's actually been there. It's one of those places where you sort of grew up with it. If you were here in Ontario, you went to schools would take field trips there, and it has a great surroundings for cosplayers for like photo opportunities. They have these tiered steps which go up the main part of the entranceway of the science center. The backdrop of the science center is actually going into the Don Valley ravine. So there's a lot of like foliage and great places to actually take photographs and stuff. And the center itself is, well, it was built back in the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. Persisted into the 1980s and 1990s, and they haven't really done too many renovations. They have a lot of displays which were there since I was a kid. You can actually make paper newspapers and like make papers from fibers and stuff like that. It's really kind of cool. But they also have other exhibits like I think a few years ago they had a complete video game exhibit. The history of video games, which was really amazing. Again, it's all about science and the science center. So a lot of the newer technologies they try to incorporate that through the years. The funny thing is that it is quite an old facility, and a lot of the electronical aspects of it are not up to spec, which is really ironic because it is the science center. But I mean, you can't really blame them. It's government funded, so there's only so much that they get support from the government. And how many people actually attend the science center every year? It's one of those things where in the summertime it's great for things for parents to do, but other than that, it's kind of like they subsist on field trips and government assistance. So it's again, it's a great venue. If anybody was interested or would like to find out more about Cosplay Matsuri, I would suggest just going to their Facebook page. You'll have the links in the description below. Everyone can take a look at Cosplay Matsuri and all the great stuff that was happening that weekend. Here's an interesting event that I was at this past weekend. I was actually helping out with the cosplay contest that they were holding. I'm gonna bring it up for you right now. Again, I'm still trying to learn this software, guys. Let me try that again. Here we go. There we go. Okay, I've got it up now. Yeah, so Planet Fantastic it's a new. I guess that they are screening classic movies from our childhood. In this case, it's Superman the movie, and this one's the Richard Donner cut, which I don't think was ever screened at in a live theater before, which is really intriguing to me. Which is the organizers contacted me to help them out with their cosplay event, and it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. It was at the Royal Cinema, which is a much older cinema here in Toronto. It still has a balcony seating. It's been around since like the 70s and 60s, I think. It's on College Street, so it was a wonderful event. They have other events as well, like as you can see, Terminator 2: Judgment Day, Queer Fear, Degrassi School out of screening, and okay, hold on, I'm being messaged by. All right, so let me again. This is what happens when when you live stream. You get random messages from people. Hold on. I'm live streaming now. Message you later. All right, so yeah, live video, great stuff. It's just really funny. That was one of my friends. She was just messaging me. So yeah, let's get back to. Yeah, I'll message her back. Oh my gosh, that was weird. Yeah. So once again, Planet Fantastic. Again, I really enjoyed this. I don't know about you guys, but back in the day. Stop it! Stop it! No. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. There's my first interaction of the day. Okay. Oh gosh, too funny. Um, yeah, that's just too funny. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. I'm going to, you know what? I don't know how to. Can I? Somehow. So back onto the. Come on. There we go. All right, so back to the Superman the movie. When I was growing up, Superman the movie was a huge thing. It was the only Superman film of its time. It was the only superhero film of its time. There were no other films which had reached, the cinema, if you will. I think Star Wars was a little bit after the Superman movie, and yeah, it was just so different. Like we used to read comics all the time, and it was great for childhood pastime. But then when you got to see Superman the movie, you knew it was just something different. And I think the producers themselves also knew it was great because they actually invested in two movies congruently. Now you got to think about that. Back in the golden age of cinema, making movies was not an easy thing. It was a huge endeavor. I mean, even today, we're talking about multi-million-dollar investments. An average superhero movie these days is $100 million. I mean, come on, wrap your head around that. $100 million. That's a lot of money. It is ridiculous amounts of money. Announcements. Okay, so one more time. Thank you for joining me and welcome back. Because I know that we just lost everybody for a second. And I'm going to hit refresh on this. Come on, run fantastic. And I'm going to pick up where I left off. So as I was trying to explain, when Christopher Reeve's version and the Donner cut, the Donner films, when they came out, they really changed the way people thought about superheroes and just Superman in general. I mean, they really thought that this was a big deal. It was one of those things where you have a studio, and like I said, today's films are $100 million to produce a superhero film. $100 million, guys. That is a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, think about that. Like, holy crap. You know what I mean? And in the cases of some of the Marvel films, they're $200 million plus. You know what I mean? Like, just insane amounts of money. When it came down for Superman, it seemed that they really understood that this was going to be something special. When they created the Superman film, they not only took a risk on a single film, they actually did two films congruently. And today we have our trilogies, and the Lord of the Rings started this whole trend where Peter Jackson shoots three films at the same time. But back in 1978, I mean, that was unheard of. I mean, come on, like two films at the same time. The studios must have been like, "You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy to produce two films at the same time." But they did. If you actually look at the Superman films 1 and 2, you actually do see a consistent timeline. In the first Superman film, not to a few spoilers here, guys, if you have never seen a Superman film, the first original Superman and the Superman 2, the film starts out on Krypton, and it actually begins with the trial of three criminals. General Zod and his two allies, and Marlon Brando's there. He's interrogating everybody. This leads right into you know their banishment into the Phantom Zone. And again, if you actually look at the special effects that were actually being presented in Superman, these things had never ever been tried in any other film. So it's one of those great things. And now that we're back high, Superman just was something completely different. And Richard Donner and everybody involved with the film, they really knew that this was going to be something special. So the film starts off with this scene of a trial, and as a viewer, I think you're kind of sitting there thinking, well, that's kind of weird, right? But it's kind of shows Kryptonian justice, if you will. And then we have the destruction of Krypton, the salvation of Kal-El, and we move on to Earth. But the rest of the film goes on. We have a conclusion at the end of the film, and then we expect, because of the success of the first film, now we're looking at a sequel. And again, back in the '70s, you never thought that a film like Superman, you'd have to reshoot new film, you have to bring back the actors. No, they actually really did what's very common today is they created two congruent films, and it's crazy because back then that was unheard of. You can't make two films. It was just way too expensive. It was such a huge risk for the studios. But at the end of it, they created a second film. Unfortunately, the second film itself, the studio involvement, which happens today a lot, they sort of looked at the cut of the second film, which Richard Donner had completed, and they were looking at it, and they kind of had, I guess, a few misgivings. They were like, well, we don't like this and we don't like this. This is happening in the film. So they ended up recutting the film without telling the director, Richard Donner. When Richard Donner saw the screening, and this is what I understand. I'm not paraphrasing or anything. I'm only like going from memory from what I remember from this new DVD that was released a few years ago. So Richard Donner comes, he takes a look at the cut, and he says, I want nothing to do with this film. So his name is removed from the film before the theatrical release, and they released the film. Fast forward like 40 years. Oh my God, it's crazy. And, a few years ago, some kid finds the actual original Donner cut. So, you know, anniversary release comes. They say, okay, here's an anniversary release with the never before seen Richard Donner cut. And having watched the Richard Donner cut myself, it's so different. Well, not so different, but there are key scenes that you see in the Richard Donner cut, which I think would have benefited the film. And I think that the original vision of Richard Donner was quite interesting. They even enhanced the actual Blu-ray DVD with new scenes. Well, not really scenes; they were already there. But there's, for example, there's a scene where Lois Lane tries to prove that Clark Kent is Superman, and she jumps out the window. You guys, honestly, I'm spoiling. I'm sorry, that was a huge spoiler. I should have said something, but that was a huge thing in the Donner cut. And one of the scenes you actually see Clark Kent running through the actual Daily Planet to try and catch Lois Lane, and you see people standing around, and then all of a sudden, in 1 second, and then the next scene you see basically like the Flash. It was a red blur, and all you see is all these papers go up in the air. Women's skirts are going up. People are dropping cameras. They're drinking coffee. They drop their coffee. It was a great little scene. Honestly, if you haven't seen the Richard Donner cut, I really suggest you do. Now, having said that, Planet Fantastic, that this past weekend did a full screening in an actual theater of the Richard Donner cut. You guys don't realize how significant. Maybe some of you do realize. I'm pretty sure a lot of you realize how significant that is. But in my view, it was a very significant thing. I've never seen the Richard Donner cut in a theater, and the theater experience is becoming a lost art now. But it's one of those things where you're sitting in a theater, you're having your bowl of popcorn, you're sitting beside people. A crowd experience, if you go to movies and you enjoy movies, it's something that's really just different. I mean, I love staying at home. I love being able to get up and make another bowl of popcorn, grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever, and make my favorite hot drink. But in a theater, you just have to immerse yourself in the experience, and that's exactly what the guys at Planet Fantastic were able to do for us last weekend. It was a great experience. They gave away some prizes. We had one of the Comic Corps of Canada. I'm just going to bring them up. They showed up, and Scott plays Superman in the Comic Corps of Canada. Let me see if we can find Scott. There he is. There's Scott right there. And he came all decked out in his original Superman getup. It was a great time. Should have taken. You know what? I really should have taken some pictures. He was there. He was entertaining everybody. He was also taking donations for the Comic Corps of Canada. And if you guys do not know what the Comic Corps of Canada is, they deliver comic books to sick children. So they go to hospitals, and they really go out of their way to brighten up children's outlook. Because, kids are sick, they are scared, And the Comic Con Canada really looks to um, try and cheer up these children. I mean, they're already scared as it is, and maybe they're with their parents and families, and they want them to be safe and happy, right? So the Comic Con Canada really tries to bring smiles to little kids by bringing them comics to read, by visiting them, and having superheroes come and be a part of their lives. You know what I mean? And just try to ease the pain of what it is that they're going through, and the families too. They're there, and you know what? Having spoken to Scott and having spoken to a lot of the Comic Core, it's amazing how volunteering at this level, with the kind of geek culture that we have, it really does change people's lives. And Scott, who's Superman here, he tells me that the time when he volunteered for the Comic Core Canada, it really did make a huge difference in his life. He was paying things forward, trying to cheer up kids and just bringing smiles back to people's faces because they're again, like I said, they're worried, they're scared, and superheroes, they have that power. That they have that power to bring people and put their minds at ease and stuff. So it was really great that Scott was able to join us this weekend at the at Planet Fantastic, and we really do appreciate the Comic Core of Canada coming out and showing their support for events like this. But at the same time, they themselves are an amazing cause, and if you have time, guys, I really do suggest going on Facebook and checking out the Comic Core of Canada website and their Facebook page. Um, it's right here. If you look at it, it's I'm going to highlight it here, and I'm also going to put a link in the description below. It's facebook.com/Comic Core of Canada, and again, I'm going to have a link in the description below. Guys, take a look at their cause. Please donate if you can. If you have any comics that you're finished reading and you don't have anything to do with them anymore, donate it to them. They will take them to sick kids who deserve them, and just brighten up somebody's day. Okay, so again, this this live stream is a bit of a crapshoot, but guys, I really appreciate you tuning in and looking at and sharing your day with me. I wanted to talk a little bit about another event which I always go to every year, always have a great time, and I think it deserves recognition for the people who helped to run this event, because as with anything else, people's lives change, and you can't do everything forever. And I just wanted to recognize that a really cool event that I like going to every year is going through a few changes. ConBravo, which is a great event in Hamilton, Ontario. They've been going strong for I think 7 years now, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody correct me on that, please do. And it's been one heck of a ride. They started, I think, in Guelph, Ontario, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, actually, I think it was Burlington, Ontario, where they started. Then they moved to Hamilton, Ontario, and that's where everything kind of took off. They're the convention of everything geek, a celebration of everything geek, and they've been going strong for 7 years, 7+ years, and the people who were responsible for creating ConBravo, one of the main reasons for ConBravo's success, Mark Chen, he is stepping down his chair, and for me, it's an end of an era. Mark. I wish I had a picture of Mark. I probably will. When I recut this video, I will have his picture up on the screen. Mark has been instrumental in creating such a great environment for geeks to celebrate their culture. He's also made it safe for geeks to, celebrate and feel safe in an environment where like-minded people come together and talk and share their, passions with one another. So for me, it really is one of those things where I want to recognize Mark. I know my channel is very small, but I just want to remember that it was Mark Chan and his group of friends who came together one day, 7 years ago, talked about creating a convention, made something which to them was just a gathering of good friends, and 7 years on later, it's one of the biggest, fan run events in Ontario. And I want to congratulate Mark for all the work that he's done, and everything that he's brought to the table. And if you guys have never seen ConBravo, here's a bit of a clip. So, as you can see, it usually happens in July. 3 days of amazing concerts, artists, special guests, tabletop and miniatures, swag, dealer's room, retro arcade. They have everything. And as I said before, it's one of those amazing events where they started off really, really small, like most events do, and they just literally exploded. And it really is thanks to Mark and his group that it became such a huge festival. And again, just something where geeks and geek culture is celebrated over and over again. And you know what? I really want to recognize Mark and his accomplishments because without him, without Mark Chen, ConBravo would not be what it is today. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people in Hamilton would not be celebrating geek culture the way they do every year annually, like they do today. Anyways, Mark, thank you again for everything you've done for the geek culture here in Ontario. Thank you for keeping everybody safe, and thank you for all the great times being the chair of ConBravo. I hope you have a good respite, because I know from experience that running events is not easy, and I tip my hat to you, sir. Once again, thank you, Mark, and congratulations on 7 years of bringing awesome to the world. Thanks, Mark. So with that, I'm going to move on to the last thing I wanted to talk about, which is the elephant in the room, Canada's version of Comic-Con. I say that very liberally because it really is not. I've been to Comic-Con twice now, and there really is no there's no way that Fan Expo is anything even close to Comic-Con. I mean, just by some of these pictures, you can tell that they have a great big audience. I think it's something like 24, or they claim it's like 48,000 people every year, but I think that's more over 48,000 over the course of 3 days. But truthfully, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it is in San Diego almost 48,000 people per day. The whole city shuts down. Having said that, Fan Expo, if you've never been to another comic convention as big as Comic-Con, Fan Expo is pretty huge. I mean, it literally is 4 days of just mayhem here in Toronto in terms of geek culture. And with, the resurgence and explosion of, the comic book movies, Marvel movies, Star Wars coming back into the fray, it really has become a cultural phenomenon here in Ontario. So I know that a lot of people are going to be attending this year, and I did just want to, touch lightly on Fan Expo as it is right now. I was involved in Fan Expo a few years ago, way back when it was called the Canadian National Comic Book Exposition. We're talking like, some odd 20 or 25 years now. And it was in its infancy, just like ConBravo was. It was in a couple of small rooms at the Westin Prince the Westin Harbourfront Castle, and it started off small, and it had aspirations of greatness. And fast forward, 20 years, it really has exploded. It really is the cultural center for geekdom in Ontario and probably most of Canada. I'm not gonna lie about that. For anime, though, you really can't beat Anime North. But when it comes to comic books and geek culture, science fiction, things like that, Fan Expo has positioned themselves in such a way that they are the go-to guys in terms of that kind of stuff. I mean, Space Channel here in Toronto, they always go to Fan Expo every year. They made partnerships with them. City TV has made partnerships with them. They have the corporate. They have the corporate sponsorship lockdown. Anyone who wants to be in cosplay, they definitely come down to Fan Expo because that's where you're going to be seen. If you want to meet some of the biggest stars in the industry, like here's George Takei, for example, you know, you're not going to meet, you know, uh, any of these gigantic stars. Nathan Fillion here. You're not going to meet these types of guys. There's Hulk Hogan taking on the now deceased Mayor Ford. Bless his soul. Again, you're not gonna meet these kinds of guys. There's the Lou Ferrigno, um, Mark Hamill, which I don't think he was here, but he's in this feed for whatever reason. Um, yeah, it is the definitive cultural hub of geekdom here in Ontario and of course Canada. They've branched out everywhere now. I think they have a Vancouver Fan Expo now. I'm pretty sure they have a Dallas Fan Expo. They've been expanding exponentially ever since their small roots back in as Canadian uh, the Canadian the Canadian National Comic Book Exposition since they're rebranding to Fan Expo, and it really is a wonderful place to meet your celebrities and your oh wow. I have never seen that picture. That's awesome. Um, and I know that a lot of people are going to be down there. It's going to be 4 days of amazing, interaction with fans, interactions with guest stars, and things like that. Unfortunately for me, it's too crowded. I think I really do appreciate conventions, and like I said, I've been to San Diego Comic Con, but it's one of those things where I just can't relax around big crowds. I guess as I get older, um, being around big crowds kind of I'm no longer as patient as I used to be. I guess that's the real thing I'm trying to say. And unless I'm trying to help out and maybe even control the situation and helping the crowds move along quicker, I get frustrated a lot. I think that my joy is like these guys here, where you can see them, clamoring around, getting pictures, and taking in the events. I think if I was to go and revisit Fan Expo, that's really what I would be doing. I'd be collecting photographs and trying to find really cool cosplayers and things like that. And that would be my big goal for being at Fan Expo. The truth being is that I'm not really much of a stargazer. I don't really uh, get too excited or worked up over meeting celebrities. Um, I find that they're just people, and I really enjoy their. If I could have 5 minutes of their time to actually sit down and really chat with them about certain questions that I have about certain shows, I'm always of the opinion that they are they are mostly actors, and in a lot of ways, they really don't know everything about the show. And if anything, I'd be able to find out a little bits of things about the actual behind the scenes of different shows. But in terms of you know getting to know them on a personal level, I don't think that would ever happen. I think that they have very personal lives, which they should. Um, I don't think that they want to share their necessarily, who they are and what they do in their personal lives with too many fans. I think that there really is a personal thing, and meeting them at Fan Expo, and for me, paying $80 just to have a photo opportunity and an autograph, even though it's probably well deserved, I can't justify that to myself. I really just can't pay that kind of money for a small memento of one of my um, I guess on screen heroes, if you will. So yeah, for me, I definitely wouldn't be going to Fan Expo if I was going to Fan Expo for celebrities. I would definitely be going around to meet really cool guys, really cool geeks. Maybe attend a few what's it called panels, if there are any, and try to learn something. That's something that I think would be really cool if I was to go back to Fan Expo. I know that a lot of you are going to be going to Fan Expo. I would love to find out what you guys are going to be doing at Fan Expo, and you know what types of what types of cosplay are you going to be wearing? Are you going to go, or are you going to be wearing? Are you going to be attending any of the panels, any of the events? Is there something that you're looking forward to? Please, guys, tell me what you guys are going to be doing this Fan Expo, and I would love to if you could leave some comments in the description below. Tell me what you guys are doing this year at Fan Expo. What your expectations of Fan Expo are. Are you somebody who really loves going to Fan Expo and meeting stars and getting autographs and things like that? I would really love to find out, about that part. And if anything, you know, how is your experience going to be? If you guys could send me your pictures and tell me if you met any really great stars, if anybody was really cool to you, and who is your favorite star that you've ever met at Fan Expo? I would really love to find out more about that. Well, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. It's been it's been one crazy live stream. I'm going to be reposting this after I edit it a little bit. But thank you guys again for tuning in. I'm gonna try and start doing these more on a regular basis. I think Tuesdays, maybe Monday or Tuesdays, I'm gonna be trying to get a regular live stream going. I hope some of you will join me, and I really hope you'll forgive me because again, internet went down today, for example. Really had an interesting time getting things together. The slides didn't work. I'm still learning the software. But guys, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for supporting this channel. I really love all you guys. I really appreciate everything you guys do for me, and helping to grow my channel. And it's amazing. We're up to 200 people on the channel right now. That blows my mind. I never thought even 2 people when I started this and just doing it for fun. I didn't even think 2 people were even going to tune in and watch my stuff. So thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you for being part of this journey. And if anything, as always, if you have any comments or questions, please leave those in the comment section below. If you would like to contact me, check out my Facebook channel, check out my Twitter account, and check out my website, geek-proud.com. Love to hear from you guys. I always try to answer all your questions if you have them. And yeah, if you have any suggestions for anime, reviews, toys, comics, anything you'd like me to take a look at, please leave that in the comment section below. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Geek Proud.